A shipping route half the world depends on might finally reopen. One of K-pop's biggest groups just upset its own fans, and Korea just lived through a week hot enough to break records. Before we get started, we'll do our blank read-through first. This is our one where we practice comprehension and listening. You can also shadow this as well. We'll go through our 3 stories and then do the explanation at the end. All right, let's get started. Our first story goes back to the Strait of Hormuz. For months, one of the world's most important shipping routes has been almost completely shut down, and it may finally be changing. I've talked about it a lot, extensively, very often here on Digestible News. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow stretch of water between Iran and Oman. I'm sure we all know. A huge share of the world's oil passes through it every single day. Since February, Iran has effectively blocked commercial ships from moving through safely, and the results have been felt everywhere. Oil prices have climbed steadily, with Brent crude sitting around $83.55 a barrel as of this past weekend. Now, Iran and Oman are reportedly close to a new deal that would put Oman in charge of managing the traffic through the strait. But Iran is demanding something first. Before it will fully reopen the strait to normal shipping, Iran wants the United States to end its military involvement in the region, withdraw its troops, and pay compensation for damages Iran says that it suffered. The U.S. has not agreed to any of these conditions. American officials say they support a resolution that keeps global shipping safe, but they have not said whether they are willing to meet Iran's demands. In the meantime, ships continue to reroute around the region when possible, and countries that depend heavily on oil imports are watching closely. Analysts say if a deal is reached, the oil prices could drop quickly. If talks fail, the strait could stay effectively closed for months longer. Now, that's the end of the story. I want you to tell me, what was this story about, and try to make it as simple as possible. You can write your answer down, or say it aloud, or put it in the comments down below. Okay? I read every comment, so I'll help you improve your English with anything you put in the comments. If you're enjoying this video so far, take a second and subscribe. Hit like and leave a comment. Only half of the people that watch actually subscribe, and I'd like to reach more people like you so we can learn English together. Now let's move on to our second story about Blackpink. Blackpink just celebrated 10 years since their debut, but the celebration didn't go the way fans expected. On August 8th, the group's agency, YG Entertainment, held a special anniversary fan event. The problem was in how it was handled. The event was announced only 2 days ahead of time, giving fans almost no time to prepare. YG also didn't confirm which members would actually attend until very close to the event itself. On top of that, the application window for fans to apply for a spot only stayed open for 9 hours. Fans reacted immediately and strongly. Many said a 10-year anniversary deserved much better planning, especially for a group as globally popular as Blackpink. Complaints spread quickly across social media, with fans pointing out that international fans in particular had almost no realistic chance to apply in time. YG Entertainment responded with several public apologies over the following days, acknowledging the planning and communication around the event fell short. The company said it would try to do better for future fan events, though it did not announce any specific changes yet. For a group that has spent a decade building one of the most loyal fan bases in one of the most loyal fan bases in music, many fans say the anniversary should have felt like a celebration, not a source of frustration. So a comprehension question. Now try to tell me, what was this story about as simply as you can? Reduce it down to the most basic ideas. Okay? Now let's move to story 3 when you're ready. Last episode, we talked about the heat wave shutting down Korean baseball. Since then, things have only gotten more serious. As of this week, the heat wave has been blamed for at least 21 confirmed deaths, a pace that is now outrunning even 2018, which was previously Korea's worst recorded heat wave. Emergency rooms have treated more than 2,441 people for heat-related illness. In the southeastern city of Yangsan, temperatures hit 42.5 degrees Celsius a week and a half or so ago, a new record in the 120 years Korea began keeping official weather records, as we discussed before. The extreme heat is also putting pressure on the country's electricity grid. In July, average daily power demand reached 83.9 gigawatts, the highest level since 1993. Officials have been closely monitoring the grid to avoid the kind of major outages that extreme heat can cause in other countries. In response to everything happening in professional baseball last episode, the KBO has now permanently adopted a new system. Under the severe heat wave warning policy, games will automatically be suspended whenever the weather agency issues its highest level heat warning, rather than requiring a special decision each time, like we discussed in a previous episode. President Lee Jae-myung has officially declared the heat wave a national disaster, which we also talked about, a step that allows the government to direct more emergency resources toward affected regions and vulnerable groups, including elderly residents and outdoor workers. Now, try to tell me, what was this story about? If you watched a previous edition, what new information did you hear? Let me know. Or practice saying it out loud or write it down. This is very helpful later after the explanation. Now that all 3 stories are complete, you have a choice. You can go back and listen to all 3 stories again, try to catch even more the second time through, or keep watching and I'll walk you through each story again, sentence by sentence, and explain what they mean. Are you ready? Let's start with our first story. Back to the Strait of Hormuz. For months, one of the world's most important shipping routes has been almost completely shut down, and that finally may be changing. So, for a long time, a major sea or ocean path for ships has been closed, almost closed, but soon it might change. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow stretch of water between Iran and Oman. It's a thin, almost like river. It's not a river, but it's a very thin piece of water between 2 countries, Iran and Oman. A huge share of the world's oil passes through it every day. A lot of oil travels through this water. Since February, Iran has effectively blocked, this is vocabulary, block means to physically stop something from moving or passing through, has blocked commercial ships from moving through safely. So since February, Iran has been stopping ships from coming through. The results have been felt everywhere. Oil prices have climbed steadily, with Brent crude sitting around $83.55 a barrel as of this weekend. Because of this, oil prices have gone up. And right now, it's around $83 per barrel. Now, Iran and Oman are reportedly close to a new deal that would put Oman in charge of managing traffic through the strait. So Iran and Oman have had talks, and they decided Oman would be the new boss of the strait, and they will control what goes through. But Iran is demanding is a vocabulary. It means to ask for something firmly. Give me this, like that. Something first. Iran wants something before they will agree. Before it will fully reopen the strait to normal shipping, Iran wants the United States to end its military involvement in the region, withdraw its troops, and pay compensation for damages Iran says it suffered. Simply, Iran wants the US to stop soldiers, take the soldiers out, and give Iran money, because Iran says the US damaged Iran. The US has not agreed to any of these conditions. So the US says, no, we didn't agree. American officials say that they support a resolution that keeps global shipping safe, but they have not said whether they will be willing to meet Iran's demands. So US government workers say they want a safe solution. They want a safe result. But they did not say they agree or disagree with Iran yet. They don't know. Maybe, maybe not. In the meantime, the ships continue to reroute around the region when possible, and countries that depend heavily on oil imports are watching closely. For now, ships are going around this area, south of Africa or another way. And all the countries that rely on imports, like Korea, are watching this situation and hoping for a good outcome. Analysts say if a deal is reached, oil prices could drop quickly. So financial experts say if they make a deal, oil will go down. If talks fail, the strait could effectively be closed for months longer. So if they don't agree, it may stay closed or be worse. We'll see. So how did you do? Now you can go back to the first story in the chapters below and listen again. How much more can you understand? If there are words you don't know, you can check the PDF in the comments down below and highlight or underline these words and study them again and come back and listen one more time. This is how we improve, step by step. Let's move to our second story about Blackpink. Blackpink just celebrated 10 years since their debut, but the celebration didn't go the way fans expected. Simply, Blackpink had 10 years since they started, but they didn't make a big event. Fans are a little disappointed. On August 8th, the group's agency, YG Entertainment, held a special anniversary fan event. The problem was in how it was handled. So they made an event, but there was some organization problem. The event was announced only 2 days ahead of time, giving fans almost no time to prepare. Fans only found out 2 days before the event happened. So they cannot prepare. I have some friends who really like K-pop. If they found out a birthday event happened 2 days before, they would be very upset, even though they live in Korea. So I imagine international fans were not happy. Right, so YG also didn't confirm. This is a vocabulary. Confirm means to say officially when something is true or false or will happen. They didn't confirm which members would actually attend until very close to the event itself. Simply, YG also waited until right before the event to say which members would be there. On top of that, the application window for fans to apply for a spot only stayed open for 9 hours. So not only did fans not know who is coming, but there was only 9 hours to sign up. That's it. Fans reacted immediately and strongly. Many said a 10-year anniversary deserved much better planning, especially for a group as globally popular as Blackpink. So many fans said, 10-year anniversary is a big deal. It's very important. You, YG Entertainment, need to be better. Blackpink is very popular. You need to prepare. Complaints spread quickly across social media, with fans pointing out that international fans in particular had almost no realistic chance to apply in time. People online complained, and they complained fast and quickly, especially international fans who had no chance to make a ticket, make an airplane ticket, arrive, get booking. It's a big mess. YG Entertainment responded with several public apologies. This is a vocabulary. Apologies means to say sorry for something or to admit you did something wrong. Over the following days, acknowledging that the planning and communication around the event fell short. So YG apologized publicly in front of everyone, social media, multiple times, many times, and said their planning wasn't good and they're sorry. The company said it would do better for future fan events, though it did not announce any specific changes yet. So they said, in the future, we will do better, but they didn't say how or what they will do. For a group that has spent a decade building one of the most loyal fan bases in music, many fans say the anniversary should have felt like a celebration, not a source of frustration. So many Blackpink fans say a group with very many fans that love Blackpink should have a big celebration. But instead, many just got frustrated. How did you do? Was there any difficult words? Was there a particular sentence that was difficult? If so, make a note. Come back, listen again, or check the PDF in the comments down below. All right, let's continue to the heat wave story. Last episode, we talked about the heat wave shutting down Korean baseball. Since then, things have gotten quite a bit more serious. So last time we talked about KBO changing the rules. After that happened, more things have happened. More bad things. As of this week, the heat wave has been blamed for at least 21 confirmed deaths, a pace that is now exceeding. Exceeding is a vocabulary. It means to go beyond a certain number or to pass some limit, to go beyond some record. Even 2018, which was previously Korea's worst recorded heat wave. So in 2018, there was a big heat wave. It was the worst ever, but this year has been worse than that record. Many people have died and many people have been sick. Emergency rooms have treated more than 2,441 people for heat-related illness. So over 2,441 people went to the hospital because of the heat. In the emergency room only, not counting clinics, not special places, just emergency room. In the southeastern city of Yangsan, temperatures hit 42.5 degrees Celsius, a new record in the 122 years since Korea began keeping official weather records. We talked about this before. Yangsan has the record for the highest temperature ever recorded in Korea. The extreme heat is also putting pressure on the country's electricity grid. The electricity grid is like, many squares. In math, you use a grid, and the electricity grid is just the squares that electricity goes through the city. So the heat is causing many problems for the electricity grid because of high use of air conditioning. In July, average daily power demand reached 83.9 gigawatts, the highest level since 1993. So in 1993, they had a really high need for electricity, and this is the highest since that time. So like 33 years record. Officials have been closely monitoring the grid to avoid the kind of major outages that extreme heat can cause in other countries. So extreme heat will cause lots of air conditioning use. Electricity becomes it doesn't meet what is needed. And then the system can fail and it can cause blackouts. And then there's no air conditioning. And then more people get sick, right? In response to everything happening in professional baseball last episode, the KBO has now permanently adopted we've used before, this is a vocabulary, means to officially start using a new rule, method, or plan. It can also be adopt a pet, like an animal, or adopt a child. It's to take something in. They're adopting a new system. So because of the heat, the KBO will permanently, forever, use this new rule. Under the severe heat wave warning policy, games will automatically be suspended whenever the weather agency issues its highest level heat warning rather than requiring a special decision each time. So under the new rule, with the new rule, games will automatically stop whenever the highest heat warning is said. So when the weather agency says, oh, extreme heat, KBO, automatically, click, this game is canceled. Every time. President Lee Jae-myung has officially declared the heat wave a national disaster, a step that allows the government to direct more emergency resources towards affected regions and vulnerable groups, including elderly residents and outdoor workers. This event has killed more people than some other emergency disasters, but the nature of it doesn't destroy infrastructure, buildings and things. So it's a confusing decision, but more money can be given and more resources given to people who need it in this situation. So this is a good step. Yes. A national disaster which lets government spend more money. Yeah, we said that. Okay. Good. How did you do? How was the story? Was there any confusing sentences or words? Go back now and you can re-listen to all three parts of this without the explanation, and I think you'll understand it quite a bit better. And of course, if not, or if you do, come back again another day so you can refresh yourself on the same content. One mistake many people make is they study something one time, review one time, and then never study again. It's important to do spaced repetition. Over time, repeat the same study method over and over, and finally, it will become natural. If you can listen to all of digestible news, all three stories without any problem at all, and you can summarize each story and then remember the information at the end of all three stories, then you can graduate to the advanced push yourself news story segments. The digestible news is supposed to be intermediate level. If you're here and you're enjoying this kind of content and it is helpful, please consider liking and subscribing and commenting, telling me how you feel about it, okay? Now we're going to do a little segment I like to do each week called This Week in History. It's just for fun, but I enjoy learning about and talking about things that happened in history at the same time as we're experiencing now, you know? So this week in history in 1945, Korea celebrated Gwangbokjeol, or National Liberation Day. It's on August 15th, 1945, as you know. Korea was freed from 35 years of Japanese colonial rule after Japan's surrender at the end of World War II. The name Gwangbokjeol, of course, as you know, in Korean, but in English, it means the day the light returns. It's very beautiful. 3 years later, on the very same date in 1948, South Korea was formally established as a republic. Because of this, August 15th marks two major moments in Korean history at once: liberation from colonial rule and the founding of the republic itself. The Day of the Light Returns is a beautiful name for that day. And I've expressed and talked about this when taking people to the liberation parks and things here in Seoul. And always, it gets a very teary-eyed moment as people realize how much that day and that event means to people. So, thank you so much for watching this episode of Digestible News, your news in digestible English. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, as I said before, and you can hype the video as well. It's a newish feature. When you click like, there should be a little hype button. You can get 3 for free each week, and it puts us in the running for new content creators. It puts us on a list for people to watch, and it tells the algorithm, hey, those guys are worth watching. So if you'd like, you can hype us as well. There's a join button for joining the memberships as well, though right now there's not a lot of membership-only content, so there's no pressure at all. Just if you want to support us, we'd be more than happy to make more stuff for everyone here on YouTube. All right. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. Try to stay cool, if possible. Stay informed, but above all, remember to stay curious. Bye for now.